Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Murillo Bustamante to defeat Rampage Jackson. And I'm here to talk about the main event for the upcoming fight night, Krylov versus Spann. Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. Nikita Krylov has a 29-9 record, Spann 21-7. These guys are both very experienced and in their primes, 31 and 30. Doesn't matter who's who. Spann, he's a little bigger, 2 inches taller at 6'6", I think, and he's got 4 inches of reach. He's a gigantic man, gigantic light heavyweight, and he's very powerful. When you see him, you'd say this guy's a knockout artist, and he is, but he's more of a submission threat. He's got 21 wins, again, 6 of them by knockout, 12 of them by submission, and 3 decisions. His 7 losses, 3 by KO, 2 by submission, 2 by decision. A good chunk of them in the UFC. He is a guillotine threat in particular. Of his 12 submission wins, 9 of them are by guillotine. 7 of those are in round 1. He's got 1 in round 2 over Devin Clark and 1 in round 3 as well. He's a guillotine threat, and it's what he's going to be looking to hit in this fight, I think. Because Krylov, the majority of his losses come by submission. 6 of his 9 losses come by submission. And the majority of them, I think 4 of them, have been in the UFC. He's also got 1 TKO loss, which was on the ground in the full mount in the 3rd round to a grappling version of Mark Hunt. And he's got 2 decision losses, both, Glover Teixeira and whoever the hell is, Ankalaev. So 2 of the current top 5 fighters, even though Glover's retired and whatever. But Krylov is a battle-tested veteran, more so than Spann, and I've got to be honest, I trust him more in this fight. He's got to watch out getting submitted, and of course getting knocked out. Ryan Spann could easily be the first guy to separate him from his senses, but I'm trusting Krylov to find the holes that Ryan Spann has more quickly, I should say. Spann, he didn't look great at all in that Anthony Smith fight. That was, a really shitty loss. I'm not willing to say, it's an anomaly or whatever, but I think it's definitely the worst he's going to look in the UFC. But it did happen. Anthony Smith is an elite light heavyweight himself. They're damn close to it at the very least. And he was able to show there are levels there, and Spann was not on his level. Spann also was submitted. His other submission loss comes to Robert Drysdale, who is an excellent grappler, in the grappling realm, a world champion, whatever the fuck. I don't know his resume, but killer jiu-jitsu guy. And that was before he got to the UFC. He's got 3 KO losses. Carl Roberson got him out of there in seconds. Johnny Walker got him out of there again, and he seems to lose, sometimes going in for a takedown. He's, gets caught with those elbows. That's what happened in both those fights. He was knocked out like that. So he seems more susceptible, but those are some violent guys with some very heavy elbows. And his other TKO loss, I don't even know where. A journeyman knocked him out, and I didn't see the fight. Anyway, he's been beaten before, as has Krylov, but I think Krylov's going to be able to find the holes more quickly. Ryan Spann has, I think, the primary threat is the guillotine in this fight. The majority of his wins come in round 1, the overwhelming majority, but I think Krylov is too tough. I think he's not going to get knocked out. I can trust his chin, having been in 40 fights and never been knocked out. He's a survivor, and I don't trust his submission defense, even, after going 15 minutes back and forth with Glover Teixeira. I do think he's still susceptible to getting finished by submission, so he's not totally out of the woods there. But I think knowing that's a primary threat of Ryan Spann's and having the advantage pretty much everywhere, I want to say, I expect Krylov to win this fight. I think he would get the first knockout. I think he would get the first submission even. And I do think he's going to out-hustle Ryan Spann and win a decision. Not that you can look to just like the Sam Alvey fight, just as you can't look to the Anthony Smith fight. But overall, Krylov, he's more reliable, I think. And I expect him to perform that way, especially as the fight goes on, Even though I think there's some value to the under 1.5 rounds, because Krylov could easily get Ryan Spann out of there early, and if Ryan Spann gets Krylov out of there, chances are it's very early. My primary bet here is Krylov at -170, and it's something where I haven't played it too heavily because I expect to play it more heavily after they weigh in, and everybody bets on the weigh-in photos. So we'll see what happens, but I do see value on Krylov, and he is my pick to win this fight. As for how he wins, I guess I'd go with a TKO or a finish, in the middle of the fight or, early middle portion of the fight. And I probably lean more towards TKO than submission, but I do think he would get Ryan Spann uncomfortable and get him out of there. Take over the fight after a few minutes and get him out of there. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.